So we're back on the 1975 Lincoln Continental. In the previous video, we straightened the roof the best we could with the dent puller. Now we're ready to spread some Bondo so we can get the surface ready for primer and paint. All right, this is actually our second coat of Bondo. I just went over it with some spray away. We're gonna let that set up and dry, and then we're gonna touch up a few spots. I feel like it may still be a little bit high, kind of right in here. I may have put a little bit too much in here, and it's definitely low in here, so we're gonna come in here and fill in some low spots and just fix some spots. Definitely, I'm not a pro, so definitely put a little too much Bondo, and I've done a ton of sanding to get it to this point. And my poor compressor has just been running nonstop. I mean, it's a pretty beefy compressor too, but this 8-inch DA is a beast, and it puts out some air, and it'll freeze your hand from the air coming out of that thing. It's almost ice cold to the touch. Anyway, it's working well though, and I've kind of flip-flopped between those two, the 6-inch and the 8-inch. But I think I'm liking the 8-inch, and I think it's gonna work well. I do have a straight line sander, but I don't think that would work well in this situation because this thing is not flat. So what I'm doing with those is just changing my angles, just keep changing which way I'm coming at it, just to try to keep it flowing with the curve. So if we keep working it at different angles, my theory, which could be wrong, is that we should end up with it curved. And it's, I don't know, it's looking pretty good. I mean, it's definitely flat. I can run my hand over it and it feels smooth. We may be a little bit high right here, and I'll work on that once we start working this end. I felt like what was happening though is as I work on this area, it may have been dipping in over here. And so I want to make sure I get this. I know this is low, so we're just going to put a little bit through there, try to build that up a little bit. I think our curve is pretty good, and you can see we filled in some low spots right in there. Of course, we got to break this off, but we did fill in some low spots. We had a little bit of a low spot there, and it feels smooth. And then our little transition, at least this far, feels pretty good. And I shouldn't be touching it because I'm waiting for that stuff to dry. I'm gonna have to wipe it again now. But anyway, that's where we are with it. It's coming along. We're doing a ton of sanding with 80 grit because I am not a body man, and so what I'm not is a body man and a pro at spreading Bondo, I make up with lots of sanding. All right, so we've got the front. This is after about, of course I worked that section over there and this section kind of independently at first, built them both up, and then kind of blended them together. And of course, we got a spot right there we're gonna have to fill, and a little couple spots here and there. But we're still a little bit low here. Problem I'm having is this weird shape, like I've pointed out, that I thought would be difficult, and it is, because it's such an odd shape. I'm not sure why it did that, but it's kind of throwing me off because we've got it pretty good, and this side is probably actually better than that side as far as fading into that, but I feel like that side was more of an abrupt high spot in this thing, whereas this one kind of transitioned and it allowed me to fill it in better. But if we're gonna make it a smoother transition, I think we're gonna have to bring this out further to fade it in. And we're gonna have to fill it a little bit right here and bring that out as well and kind of fade it out. Because what you've got this that, you know, it's a slope or whatever you'll call it, and then it kind of flattens out because everything around it is about at that level, but this is really high, and so it does kind of a, and we need to make that smoother transition. So like I said, similar over here. I've got a little bit of a, let's see, where was it? Right here. There's a little bit of something right here that's not quite right. There's a low spot right there. But you can feel it. This whole area right here is a little bit low, and it's because of this high spot right here. So I think we're gonna kind of do the same thing. Bring some and try to blend this in and make this more of a gradual transition, but we're gonna have to do it up here as well. Kind of come up here. I'm hoping this wide will be enough to blend it and kind of, again, bring it. We don't want to come all the way. We don't want to bring that line all the way over here. We want to try to blend that down. And yeah. So that's the goal. But other than that, we've got this pretty good as far as, you know, like this area here, this is good except for that. Let's see. And we got a little spot there that needs to be smoothed out, but this little low spot here. But other than that, it's good. This area is good. That needs a little work right there. And of course we got some right big spot there. But for the most part, we're getting good on the front. So let me work on it a little bit. I know I haven't really shown y'all much, but it's just been a mess of body work on this thing. It's taken way too long to get this done. I've been working on it quite a bit. I just have so many hours in it. I'm not body man. I think I can make it straight and look good. I don't know how paint's going to come out, but I feel like I've done a pretty good job on the actual body work of it, and I think it'll hold up. I think I've done well treating rust, all that kind of stuff. My fear is how well I can paint it, and then I've just spent way too much time on the bodywork. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so and then I'm a novice, so I end up putting too much filler on and then sanding too much off, trying to make it just perfect, and then adding more, and it's just a repeat cycle of lots of sanding of excess body filler that probably wasn't needed to make it look right. So I've just got a lot of work in it, and this thing was a mess. You can see all the spots I had to fill, you know, just to make this thing flat. It just, there's a lot of damage on this roof where that oddly enough, the middle is actually pretty good. It sprung back, but the ends were a mess where that roof sat on this car, that barn. Any spots that had what I would call holes or pitting, I went over with the fiberglass filler. What that did is it allowed, that stuff doesn't absorb moisture. It's also got some integrity to it. You know, it's got strands of fiberglass in it. So I put that anywhere there was any pitting to help keep any moisture away. So also while we're going with an epoxy primer on here, just to, you know, better our chances of this staying in good shape, I guess. But just keep in mind the body work that, you know, whatever your manufacturer is, at least in this case Ford, is not great. You know, a vinyl top to me was an excuse to do poor body work on these things. So like these seams, you know, where they've grafted the top on, they didn't even paint over them, just bare Bondo, which attracts moisture, which it did, and it caused rust. So we had to grind all those out, you know, redo them, treat the rust, you know, re-Bondo them, get our seams. And then this C-pillar was just so wavy. It required a lot of filler. And there's a huge body line in here, transitions into back here. This transition is not good, and it doesn't even match on both sides. You know, it's not even the same. But anyway, all back in here was rust, which we have done our same treatment: sandblast, chemically treat, preserve, and then again, even these small places, I put that fiberglass filler in first. And to be honest, I think the rust on mine is probably less than most people experience. Again, rust that we took care of. And it had some rust all in these body lines. Not bad, but it definitely was starting to pop the filler. And again, all the body work I had to do because the barn fell on this thing. And like this was a low spot, but I really think that was from the factory. And you know, these B pillars had a lot of rust in the bottom of them. So again, that same treatment of killing the rust, fiberglass filler or glass filler, and then your normal filler over top. But like these to me are difficult, you know, because you gotta create this edge right here. This seam goes in here and it's indented, so you have to fill it, and then you have to follow this and create that line, and stuff like that takes me forever. You know, I am not good at this. You know, areas like this and this don't matter as much. I make them as good as I can get. They really don't matter as much because you got trim that goes around there. Same on this. This one's a little more important, I guess, because you have trim that goes up next to it. I think it turned out well, and hopefully the finished product turns out well. We'll see. It's better than it was. So that's going to do it for this video. We've got the Bondo all smoothed out and ready for paint. So next video, we'll start the process of spraying some primer and paint. Again, I'm not a body man, so we'll see how much of that process I show you. I'll probably just kind of show you some overviews of what it looks like after I spray. Definitely not a how-to video. I'm not a body man. I think I've said that plenty of times, but this is just so you can kind of see this process. I know a lot of people are facing this same situation, you know, with one of these vinyl top cars, trying to figure out what to do because the vinyl, at this point in time, you know, these vinyl tops are disintegrating. So it's kind of a big decision. Do you put vinyl back on? Do you paint it? And so this is just kind of going through my process. So next video, primer and paint.